Hello everyone, excuse me, Rachel here from Beads by Verchiel, bringing you this Thursday tutorial time, and we're going to be doing a tree of life. So as always, whether you're with me live, whether you're watching back on the replay because you haven't had time in your busy schedule to watch the live, do give me a thumbs up. And do pop me a note in the comments so I know you were present with me. Let's just wait for everybody to hop on. Good evening, Lydia. Good evening, Francis. Hi, Kim. It's good to have you all in the thread. Hello, Jay. Hello, Deb. Hello, Carol. Yay! You got me on the live, Carol. Hope you're all doing well. And if you have done the Tree of Life before, do share it in the thread with everyone, because there's so many different interpretations of the Tree of Life. This is what I love. I taught this Tree of Life to, well, I teach it year after year really at Marlborough College Summer School. And what I love about this is there's an awful lot of international students, if you call them students, because it's just a week's holiday really, come and do a week's course. And what I love about the Tree of Life is the fact that you get people from so many different nationalities, so many different walks of life, that you can really see the inspiration behind their cultures, in colour and in shape. One in particular year I remember doing, now I can't remember exactly where the ladies were from, but their colours were so vibrant, and rather than having the flat Tree of Life, what they did is they pushed it out, so they made like a concave sort of arched Tree of Life. So what I'd really like you to do is to just use my tutorial as a guidance, and then the world is your oyster. The good thing is with this, it's so flexible with what beads you can use, beads, seed beads, freshwater pearls. You can use so much in it. Hello, Betty. Hi, June. Betty said this is something she'd love to do. Deb says her too. Oh, Janet didn't get the notification. It does that sometimes, doesn't it? Hello, Trisha. Hello, Sharon. So let's show you some samples. What you might want to do whilst you're learning is, copper doesn't have any base on it, because silver plated wires are normally on a copper base. And that means if you're hacking away at the wires, it will go down to the copper base. Whereas if you're using copper wire, it doesn't matter. You can't take any surface off. Now, this is non-tarnish. It doesn't mean it won't tarnish at all, if I'm totally honest with you. But I don't know if any of you have heard, but you can also oxidise copper. This is not the copper you can oxidise. Now, believe you me, I was trying to do some oxidising some years ago, and I could not understand why this liver of sulphur, which is what you put on top of it, just kept sliding off, and no matter how many coats I put on it, it didn't blacken. So if ever you want that blackened effect, you need to buy non-treated bare copper wire for that to work. If you want this nice shiny finish, then you go for the treated finish, and that will last as long as possible. And if it does tarnish, unfortunately, it's like anything that's not solid in terms of gold, silver, it will tarnish, but use a silver cloth on your gold or your silver plated stuff and it will buff it all up. Now, I can't remember where I was going with that, but anyway, so once you get, so what I'd say is copper's a great one to practice on, and then you could always do sterling silver. I've done these in 9-carat gold as well for commissions for people, but start off with the cheap stuff. Make your, because we all make mistakes when we're first starting. I'm not sure, I think I've said hello Trisha, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but hello Trisha, hello Sharon, hello Kay. Let's show you some samples. Now, if you're not sure what sort of ribbons and things to put them on, I have a tutorial on YouTube about making these ribbon end tutorials. So copper is quite a difficult one to marry up, and I tend to go for the copper ribbon ends. So this one is just with silver lined seed beads. Okay. This one is with slightly bigger seed beads. My youngest, David, wants to bag that one. Now that's a little bit more pop out, which is what I was talking to you about. So you can make it sort of a bit more three-dimensional. This one is using crystal fire polished beads. And the one I have on is with gemstone chips. So these are moonstone. Hello Sandra, it's good to have you all in the thread. So we're going to start with a basic tree of life tonight, and then I think I'm going to do it in a couple of parts. We're then going to move on and do a sun catcher or a wall hanging, because there's lots of components, lots of intricate components, not difficult, and especially if you just break it down. So we'll look at how we edge it with the seed beads. This one is actually taking the tree from the side. You can use this curly bit either on the gizmo or just with using a kebab stick. Ooh, chakra gemstone colours. That sounds good. Like I mentioned to you last week, you can always do one for all the seasons and either have several in a line, or you could have them dangling down from each other. You can make smaller ones as well. Fluorite. This one is jasper. Love jasper. So there you go. I'm going to talk tools with you in a second. If you're the sort of person that also wants a visual aid, then you can order a PDF download, and it gives you all of the measurements, and it's got step-by-step photograph and written instructions. I'm going to try and stick to it if I can tonight, because I do tend to go off piste, as you well know. Hello Teresa, this is Teresa's first time of watching the live. It's great to have you here. Do ask questions. Do share any top tips you've got in the thread as well. So, first of all, let's talk about tools. Now, hopefully, you've all got some tools. If you haven't, you're going to need sort of all the basics, like a side cutter, chain nose or bent nose pliers. I like that to get into all the nitty-gritty bits. A looping pliers, which are called round nose pliers. Now, ideally, you're going to need one of these, which is a nylon tipped hammer. I think I've got 3 of these left. They're in the thread somewhere. No difference to the colours, what they do. It's just a decorative thing. You're going to need a mandrel. Now, a mandrel is something that you shape the wires around. Okay, so my mandrel is in here. I'll show you after. You can use a ring mandrel. You can use the wider part at the bottom. I'm just going to go off piste slightly and talk you through a couple of hacks, as in, if you haven't got the tools, what sort of householdy items can you use? And then obviously when you've got the money, or if you want to invest in doing more tree of life, you can then do so. Now, don't laugh, but if you got one of these, a camping mallet, you know, it'll do. It'll do for giving it a bit of shape. Just don't go too hard on it. So, you know, and I don't want to be blamed for your partners losing their rubber mallets. Okay, so you could use that in place of the other one. Okay, so perhaps you haven't got a mandrel, right? You could use a rolling pin. Now this is a bit big, but when I was in Sainsbury's earlier on, I saw ones that were probably about half the width of that, and I thought that would be ideal. £5. I thought that was a bargain. Okay, the other thing that is really cheap, and you can get them in different sizes depending on where you buy them from, is Pritt Stick or Yoo-Hoo stick. Just take the lid off, because obviously you can't, because that's slightly wider at the bottom, you need to be able to slide it off. A meat basher. A meat basher, is that for doing the hammering? Not sure whether or not that might dent your wire. It depends if it's nylon tipped. What else we got? I think that's it for now. Now, when I had my shop, I had one of my fellow shop owners was a woodworker. If you know any woodworkers, get them to turn you a couple of different circles in different sizes, which is what I did with him. I used to sell them, but I haven't seen him for ages. So anyway, there you go. Before we move on, because to be honest, it's going to take time, but it's actually quite quick. So I've got some, just showing you what sort of things work well. So you've got those turquoise highlight chips. That would make, I reckon you'd get 2 or 3 out of that one. They're £1.45 a strand. You've got Tiger's Eye. Again, I think these are all around £1.45 or something like that. Unikite. Love the colours in that. This is natural agate, which is just not coloured. I love the colours. I love the natural colour. And there's garnet. There's lots of seed beads as well. You could use size 10 seed beads, size 8, size 6, whatever you've got in your stash. We're going to need, I would recommend, no less than 1mm thick wire. We're working on 1.2 and there's some available in the thread. And the bit for doing the branches is a finer one and it's 0.4. 0.3 is a little bit too fine. This is harder on your hand, but if you don't have anything solid, when you come to wrap the branches, it's easy to put it out of sync shape. So that's what we're going for. So I think we're all ready to go. So first of all, because I've got my little mandrel here, you're going to cut a length of 20cm wire. It doesn't really take up a huge amount of wire. It's great to have some wire straighteners if you can. I think I've sold out of all my wire straighteners now, but I will get some more in at some point. Right, so I'm going to cut a 20cm length. Okay, I'm going to actually tilt the camera because this little bit, and then when we come to do the branches, I will zoom in a bit more. So this is the little mandrel that I've got. I've just put it in a clamp. You don't need this. This is just for demonstration, so it's a bit easier for me to do. So we're going to wrap that around there. Okay, perhaps even half and half. I'm just going to zoom in just a wee bit more. Whoops. So that you can see that. Okay, so that's all I've done. I've just crossed them over at the top. It's going to be a lot easier because obviously you're going to have free movement of it. What I've done is I've turned one up. So I've just used that to shape it. And then I'm actually going to use this one to wrap around the one that sticks up. I would suggest doing it while it's on. Hopefully you can see that. But to be honest, it's actually quite soft, quite malleable. All right, so that's what we've got. And then I'm going to trim off that excess. Always have the flat part of the pliers against where you're going to cut and hold it so it doesn't take flight. Using your chain nose or your bent nose pliers, just ease that in. Always decide on a front or a back as well, because when we do the branches, we're going to have the any of the tails at the front. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to cut roughly 1 centimetre from that wire wrapped. Let's try and get that in focus. Turn that at a right angle, and then with your looping pliers, about 1 centimetre from the end, turn the loop, and that's where your pendant or your chain's going to go through. And there you've got your base. Now I'm just going to take this out of the clamp and move that to one side. And I would do one of two things. I would actually gently hammer that while it's on still. You don't need to go mad with it. The reason why you're hammering it is to help shape it, and to what we call work harden, which is a term that you'll use here, used quite often with any metal work, including silver work. So you don't have to go too mad with it. And then I'm going to also take it off. Even if you have, this is just a nylon plate. To be honest, a little coffee coaster if you haven't got one. Have the loop overhanging the side so that you don't bash that out of shape. And just hammer that all the way around. I'd avoid hammering this bit here. Okie dokies. And then if there's any more out of shape, then you can just pop it back on there and just manipulate it. Also, if you need to straighten that up, you can do as well. So how cool is that? You've made your base, and you can obviously choose how big or how small you want it. All right, so I am now going to bring across my mat, and I'm going to show you the branch work. So this is the branch work here, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Ooh, let's just tighten up my phone so he doesn't take too much of a nosedive. Sorry about that. Right. This just takes a little bit of time just for me to position it correctly. There we go. Right, so here's our 0.4mm wire. Now I'm just going to have a quick look at my notes because I've got this tendency to go off piste, and if I follow it to the notes and any of you order the PDF, at least it will all make sense. So I'd recommend you cut 8 lengths of 20 centimetres. This is going to be your branches or thereabouts. You're probably going to have a little bit of excess. So 2, I'm going to move the ruler out the way. Let's get all this rubbish out of the way. This is a great little bead soup. You know, you can do bead soup with this, you can do gemstones, seed beads. Just bear in mind that you need, if you're using big beads, you're not going to want a small tree of life, because you don't want it to swamp your tree of life. The other thing is, you can do other things. I've done an under the sea tree of life. I've got it somewhere. It's with all fishes in it. I've seen some done with spiders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't have to use 8. I think I'm just going to go for 6. Normally we're going for 8, but because we're on tutorial, I'm just going to use that. So we're going to bend it in half and find the midpoint, like so. Then I'm going to have one leg that way, one leg this way, like so. And then it doesn't matter which way you wrap it, but I'd catch one under your non-dominant hand, and then with this one, wrap it 2 to 3 times. Now, if you want a wider trunk, you just wrap more times. Okay, and then you're going to do that for all of them. So you bend it in half, one leg one side, one leg the other. Hold it in your non-dominant hand. And can you see, because you're kind of, you know, you're pulling it this way and that, is you can see why you'd need a thicker wire for the base. I mean, you can try for the branches, like I say, it's 0.4. You can try a thinner wire. No, that's not very neat. By all means do, but just be prepared for the fact that when you're twisting, you may find that snapping occurs with it. And if you're working with any precious metals, like your sterling silver or your gold, do you know, gold is absolutely horrible to work with. It really is. Like I say, I've done some 9-carat gold ones for these because I do work, commission work for a chap called Steve Leach, and his stuff is over at Burford Garden Centre, and all the jewellery pieces are made by me, and he often commissions me to do it in 9-carat gold. It's all, oh, the beads are amazing, ancient Egypt, and oh, absolutely stunning beads. And obviously I don't do any soldering, I just do the same thing but with 9-carat gold, and it's really hard. I think copper gives it some buoyancy. Right, so my thingy has gone out of shape, so what I'm going to do before I do any more is just pop that on there and just reshape it, because once we start doing the other bits it's going to be difficult to do that. I want to see if I can zoom in any more. Please ask questions if you've got any. This is what where we're at, and this is what we're aiming for. So we're going to actually gather together all of the wires and make the trunk. All right, so pull the wires up, find roughly a central point for this one, and pinch them together and twist. It's up to you how much of a twist you want to do. And then what we're going to do is open these out. I'm just going to bring those out and position those roughly where you want them. I'm going to turn it round because it's upside down for me. So apologies, it's just really difficult to work it. Okay, bear with me. Again, just making sure I am following my own advice. Right, okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to create some movement. I don't like rigid roots and branches, so I'm going to get my pliers in there and I'm going to create a bit of a twist. Just do one at a time, total randomness. Sorry if it's I was just out of focus there. Say one at a time. It's actually more difficult than it looks doing one at a time. You can do two at a time if you wish. I mean, it's entirely up to you, but personally I think nature looks best when it's a little bit more curved. So I've just added a bit of a curve in the tree there as well. Now I'm going to cut these. These are turquoise howlite. They are man-made gemstones. I'm not quite sure what's involved in the process, but anyway, they're rather beautiful and they're rather vibrant. So you're not really going to need a huge amount. I'm going to blend these in. So if there's any small gaps, I'm going to fill them in with some little seed beads. These are size 10 seed beads. And I'm going to work in groups of 2. So I'm going to grab 2 together, put my finger in between the 2 and twist. Now you don't want too much of a twist because otherwise you're going to take away all the space. But it just again creates a little bit more realism. So we're going to pop that on there. So I'm just going to fill it to the edge. Whoops. And then it's kind of, the good thing with the gemstone chips is within reason you can find ones. Can you see that? Just goes right up to the edge. So thumb on there to secure it so it doesn't, you don't start putting it out of shape. And then wrap a couple of times. All right, squeeze that. I'm just going to leave that there for now. Now, because that's quite close to this one, I'm going to actually thread a couple of seed beads on first. And at least that way it's not going to buckle the branch. It's just going to add a little bit of variety to it. And then I'm going to add some more on there. So we've still got plenty of time. So if that's all right with you, I'm just going to carry on and with the tree. Now, I've got a bit of a gap there. I need to find one that's a little bit smaller. I'm just checking that I'm still in view. All right, so that's that one. Pinch it, bring it underneath. Bring it taut. Do you know on these you can put swings in them as well? I have got some in my folksy shop that have got swings on. They're not as difficult as they sound actually. You can either do this side and then balance it this side, or do one side at a time. The choice is yours. So I'm going to do the next group of 2 and twist. And then start filling in. Now, because these beads are quite big, I don't really need that many branches, which is kind of good for tutorial purposes because it means that you don't have to sort of watch me do much of the same thing. All right, so there we go. So anchor that. I'm just going to undo that because I think a little seed bead in there, a seed bead or 2 would be good. 1. I've also done a heart tree of life, so I've made a heart shape as the base. But do go on Pinterest and have a little look at all the different bits and pieces that you can get. So that's where we're at the moment. I'm going to start on this side now. And also I can show you if you've got too many branches what you do with the extras. So we're going to twist a little bit, twist them both together. But do let me know in the comments how you find this, if you think it, you know, it's doable. Just finding some thinner ones. There we go. Maybe pop a little seed bead on there as well. One tip I would give you is don't overthink your tree. Don't overthink your tree. Don't overfill it, and don't be too perfect, because I think imperfection is perfection, really, in things like this. Where's that one? I'm going to start off with a couple. Couple of seed beads, I should have said. Sorry, I got completely sidetracked in my creative process here. There we go. But just experiment. Now, I think we only need one more of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these forward and bead on this one. I'm going to add a couple of seed beads in there, and then I can show you how we finish off. But you can see, I mean, don't judge yourself on the speed that I do. At the end of the day, it's all about practice, taking your time and enjoying the process of it. I would certainly take a lot more time than this if I wasn't sort of on live and doing a demo. I'm always conscious that I don't want to be boring the pants off you all doing these bits. Right, so it doesn't really matter which side you anchor it. Now, there's a couple of options on these tails. Let's address that first of all. You can either just trim these off at the front, or you can go all the way around and wrap. Can you see how I actually covered that? So you just keep wrapping down to the next branch. You can wrap all the way round. On this one, I've just wrapped where the branches are at the top. So you would literally just keep threading this under until you filled the gaps. I actually think that's quite nice. I'm not going to do that tonight because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So we're just going to do the simplistic method. So this is our front. I'm going to trim that off. I would neaten as you go. So to neaten, I would get your pliers and just make sure that that's flat. I normally lift it, trim it, and then just flatten it. So we're going to do that all the way round. So always, I think it's always good if you can to wrap the wires in the same way, either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Now with mine, what did I do? I think I did clockwise, but it doesn't matter, but I would stick with the same once you've done one. Do you know, you can even go really miniature on these as well and do some earrings, but you'd want to go really small beads for that. Right, let's move these all out the way. So that's where we're at the moment. So we've got all of these threads. Now, we're not really going to need all of these. So for the ones that you don't need, don't worry, it's not a problem. You can just literally trim them right down to the base, but don't get trimming any of your branches. All right. Also, take time just to flatten those in as well, to make sure. You probably want to trim that down a little bit more. Make sure it doesn't go into anybody's skin. Now, see these little circles? I'm just going to show you how to do that. So obviously the more wire you have, the bigger the circles. Now, I'm going to go for about 2 finger widths. Let's cut them all the same. So I'm going for 3. Start off with a little loop. Turn it till it touches. See if I can just show you that. Okay. Make it a little bit smaller. And then what you're going to do is clamp it with whatever pliers, chain nose, round nose, and a little bit like a snail. Just keep bringing it round and round. You don't have to do this. You can just trim them off if you want to. But I just think they look really pretty. And then if you've got any little blips, any bits you don't want anybody to see, you can just push it down. So 2 more to do. We're still doing okay for time. Turn a loop. That's not a full loop. I think as I mentioned to you guys last week, now wire work is not great for your nails, and actually painting your nails actually gives it a little bit of a protective barrier from sort of chipping them. It's wire weaving is probably the worst, but there's not really a great, well, there's no wire weaving in this one. And you can turn it over and place it where you want. Always working 1s, 3s, 5s, odd numbers is a good thing, even though, having said that, I can talk the talk but not walk the walk, because I've just noticed that 2 of mine have only got 2. So technically 1s, 3s and 5s do look better on the eye. Right. These are not very neat. I would take your time to do them much neater than this. But anyway, so there you go. You have your tree of life. All right, so what you would do is you would pop your chain or your ribbon. Now what I've done on this one is I've made my own jump ring and pop that on there. There is also a video somewhere on my YouTube. I think I'm making jump rings, and then I've attached my ribbon. Or if you've got a chain, you can put it straight through there, in which case it's an open ring. So you would just literally open that up on the open side and pop that in there. Straighten that up. Now, if you wanted a 3D effect that I was talking to you about before, from the back you would just push it out a little bit, but I don't really want to lose the shape of it. So do let me know in the comments how you found that, and let's just go back and answer all of your questions and show you this week's giveaway as well. Oh, that's a bit close. That's a wee bit close. That's better. Hello, Linda. It's great that you could join us. I know it's the first time for a couple of you joining tonight. I do see very close. Oh, Carol likes my nail polish. Thank you, Carol. It's not, it is from Barry M. It's, what is it? I don't know, but I'll put it in the comment thread. Oh, sorry. Where have you all gone? Lydia said she's scared of the branch work. Do you know what? The best thing to do, Lydia, is have more branches than you need. And then if it doesn't work out, you've still got some extras and you can trim off the ones you don't want. So there you go. Kim said, gold is so soft. Lydia, she's okay with it so far. Fab so far, brilliant. Trisha had to go, we'll watch on replay. She's looking forward to trying it. Never a problem. I thought it was your first time watching, Linda. It's great to have you. Hello, Sandra. A swing sounds good. It does. Do you know, it's actually quite easy to do. But I think what I'm going to do is over the next sort of couple of weeks is we'll address different elements of doing a sun catcher, doing a tree on its side, and then I can just give you a glance at some of these elements as well. Lydia says, I bet mine don't look like that. Well, it's like anything, Lydia, it is just practice and not being hard on yourself if your first one doesn't turn out quite how you want it to. Now, June says she finds it much easier to pull the wires through using pliers, saves on tendon issues. Good tip. Deb says, I make it look easy. Oh, bless you. And so did Janet. Deb had to go, no problem. Oh, that's really lovely of you. Sandra says, that's the best tutorial of the Tree of Life I've ever seen. You make it look easy. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Teresa says, wow, that's beautiful. Jay loves it. Janet says it looks lovely and always wondered how they were made. They're not complicated. It's just simplifying things as well. Carol says she's made 2 before, one with me and one on her own. Brilliant. Carol used to come and do my workshops, didn't you? June, better method. Oh dear, put my teeth in. Better method than the one I've been using. Thanks. Brilliant. I know, Teresa. Doesn't the turquoise look lovely with the copper? Lydia's going to give it a go after her tea. Brilliant. Don't forget, put it in the February mates thread. And Teresa says you make it look fairly simple, so we'll give it a go. So I'll expect you all to be getting out your rolling pins, your rubber mallets, giving it a go. The one that I'm wearing, do you want to have a closer look? It's actually mixed moonstone. I love it. I haven't got any more of the gem chips. They're literally just gem chips, and the moonstone has actually got like an iridescent to it. Here's me saying, do it in 1s and 3s. I need to take my own advice. I don't know, I've only got 2 on this. So it's kind of peachy colours as well. Now, before I let you go, because we've been long enough keeping you, this week's giveaway. So all of the wires are in the thread. I haven't done any kits because, to be honest, it's pretty cheap to buy all of the materials so that you can actually get lots of trees out rather than maybe just one. Now, in this week's giveaway, you have 2 meters of copper 1.25, 6 meters of this. I think it should give you 2 or 3. I've also got a strand of deep blue stroke grey freshwater pearls. Excuse me. And I'm going to give you a printed copy of the Tree of Life as well. So Kay says they look pretty. Definitely be trying that 1 or 2. brilliant. I'm so pleased you all enjoyed it. Don't forget, in order to be in for the giveaway, all you need to do is like the post. So just underneath the video, just press the thumbs up, and it just makes it easier for me to collate all of the names. Just to be on the safe side, make sure you've popped a note in the comment as well. I think that's it for now, but if you've got any questions, do let me know. And oh yes, if you do win the giveaway and you want to place an order and you're happy for your order to go in with your giveaway, I will give you free PMP with your order. But it's like anything, it's a free giveaway, there's no ties involved, you don't have to buy anything. So anyway, have a lovely evening. Glad you liked the giveaway. You guys take care, and I will see you next on Sunday for this week's news. Lovely to have you all. Bye.